And new at 6, an update to a recent executive order on homelessness. A federal judge has put a pause on the Trump administration's efforts to cap how much federal funding states can use on permanent housing projects, a new policy that advocates say puts tens of thousands of Californians at risk of homelessness. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny HUD has the latest.
When it comes to federal funding to tackle the homeless crisis, there's something called the Continuum of Care program under the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. The program has long had a housing-first approach, but under a new executive order,
pretty sweeping changes to what was the status quo for expectation of federal funding for this space for years. And then, of course, that ended up being challenged in court.
So the proposed changes are legally on pause. California was part of one of those lawsuits challenging the newly proposed cap on how much funding can be used for permanent housing solutions, 30% down from 90%.
Going from a cap of really effectively no cap to 30% was pretty significant.
President Trump's focus instead on temporary transitional housing with stricter conditions like work requirements and treatment and recovery for mental health struggles and substance abuse.
Factors that ultimately bring somebody to experience homelessness are just as varied and diverse as the factors needed to help somebody exit it.
Trent Simmons is with Sacramento Steps Forward, which distributes those federal dollars to Sacramento agencies. Simmons says the new Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, by HUD has caused confusion.
The original NOFO was supposed to be a 2-year NOFO, with the expectation is that once the fiscal year 2024 ended, they would then be able to be funded at exactly the same level for 2025.
The new NOFO puts that anticipated 2025 to 2026 year funding in limbo. According to the governor's office, California organizations received more than $683 million in COC funding last year. 90% of that went to permanent housing projects, which would be caught up in that limbo.
We can have all the temporary housing in the world, but if there's no place for people to go, there's no place for people to go.
In a statement, a HUD spokesperson says in part, quote, "The department remains committed to program reforms intended to assist our nation's most vulnerable citizens and will continue to do so in accordance with court orders." Jenny HUD, ABC 10.